And hello everyone, welcome to Skholar IAS Current Affairs classes. So we have brought you some two important articles of the day and they are different from the rest of the articles as well. Let's see one by one. The first article is on mapping policy. So basically what is in the news is that India has actually liberalized mapping policy that actually was established during the colonial period. So when British were ruling us, they had set up some rules around the mapping policy, and now they are liberalizing it. And this policy deals with who can actually make and modify or even disseminate these maps. So this is what this mapping policy is dealing about. So what are the reforms? So actually this policy introduces certain things around, as I said, who can actually use these maps or produce these maps. So till now the Survey of India, so that is the only authority in India that is actually have the authority to produce maps. But now private players like Map My India or even Google Maps, they have also released digital maps, but they have utilized satellite images. And this producing map of digital maps using satellite images required a process called ground truthing. So when we say ground truthing, it is nothing but a person physically goes and checks the ground reality and relates it with the satellite image and tries to bring in accuracy in such images. But despite this process, the high resolution cannot be produced for these maps because only it can produce up to an accuracy of 1 meter or less. So now this will be allowed under the new policy, the reforms that are being brought up with this new policy. So with this change, who can actually create or publish maps now apart from Survey of India? So now with this policy change, Indian companies, okay, remember only Indian companies, okay, no other foreign company can do this. Only Indian companies or any other entities that actually store and display data exclusively within the country. See, right now, even though Google is one in one way is a foreign company, but still, even if an Indian company comes up with that, it cannot be storing the data that it works on in another country or another jurisdiction. It has to be exclusively stored and displayed only within the country. So these kind of companies would be allowed to undertake certain key activities around mapping. Okay, and these activities include terrestrial mobile mapping and street view surveys, generating high resolution maps, and even surveying the Indian territorial waters. It's not just restricted to the land area of it, rather it is also extended to till the territorial waters of India. Okay, so these are the activities that would be allowed for those Indian companies that would be storing and displaying data within the country. And all mapping firms can actually now operate freely, but so see here, when we say all foreign players, there are certain restrictions to the foreign players because the foreign players will have to engage with an Indian partner or a local subsidiary to enter certain businesses such as street view maps. So basically, even if Google wants to enter in creating the street view maps, they will have to do that only in partnership with other Indian companies. So right now now we understand that either or on a whole Indian companies should take it up and should be working on it. Rather, even if it is engaging with a multinational firm, it has to be done in partnership with an Indian firm. So this is what the new regulation is about. So now the another question that could arise is, why is that the mapping becomes very important in the digital ecosystem? Because though Survey of India is already doing it, why should we actually be engaging in the digital ecosystem? One thing is that local information, okay, locational information is an integral part of modern digital ecosystem. So it's very obvious now. We know that on our mobiles and everything we are using Google Maps or Street Views or anything to actually navigate our way through. So basically, in digital ecosystem, location has become a basic feature, and it is also critical for any location-based service industry such as e-commerce, delivery, and logistics. So we know, like let's say the firms that are operating in India, like Amazon, Flipkart, these are all based on these are all online platforms, and they are delivering service only through by use of this location based services, maps basically. So it becomes very important in the digital ecosystem. Mapping becomes an important part of digital ecosystem. In addition to that, there are also certain traditional sectors apart from the new modern sectors like e-commerce and logistics. Even the traditional sectors such as agriculture, construction, mines and minerals, they also need these digital maps because it gives an idea about, let's say, it can be about weather weather information dissemination, or it can be about resource identification. For these aspects, even these industries, traditional industries, require maps. Now, let's try to understand what is the intention of the government behind bringing these reforms in the policy. See, the main intent is to push indigenously developed maps. Okay, so this is what the main objective of the government is. But it's not, it's a challenging task. Indigenously developing a map is a challenging task. And India has also been building local variant to US based GPS. We remember that NAVIC, that is Gaganyaan, is a part of this idea of mapping, that is similar to GPS but at Indian level, not at global level. Okay, and even Russia and China have local alternatives deployed for military purposes. So basically, many the top players, top nations, the country, either they have their own global level or at least local alternatives for military as well as for civic purposes. And this new digital maps race is about sovereignty and localizing mapping capability. So basically, when we talk about mapping, there involves an idea or concept of sovereignty. So a country's sovereignty is also involved in mapping. For example, if you remember, there has been many disputes where Google is being, if you see the Google map of India from Pakistan, then you would be seeing a map without POK in India map. But if you see the same map from India, the POK would be shown as an integral part of India. So this is how it is basically. The maps are displayed as per the discretion of the organization itself. That is how they are operating. If it is a Google map, it operates according to the country that the viewer is in. So there is an idea, this sovereignty comes into picture. Okay, so this is the idea, this is the main reason why this policy, the reform in the policy has been brought up. And in relation to this, Map My India has actually partnered with ISRO to develop a fully indigenous mapping portal. So this is a step in this direction actually. So now we understand for government there is an intention of sovereignty, there is an intention for indigenously developing mapping and everything. But how will we benefit as common consumers? How will we benefit out of such a mapping policy? So first thing is, services like street view maps and high resolution commercial mapping will become possible depending on two factors basically. That is the local mapping ecosystem and also the way how foreign firms are managing this whole mapping ecosystem. So with this policy, these two factors would actually be in favor of us, that is the consumers. Let it be commercial consumers or at least to an extent the civic consumers. And also the policy also states that the center owned mapping data will be published freely. So this is where the main aspect is. As a common consumer, you don't have to pay for something that you are on a day-to-day basis using it. So this becomes an important aspect to it. And the norms are merely intent, but outcomes depend on the implementation of the center. So this is the final sentence. For any policy to happen, ground level implementation is important, is the key. And as similar, the same thing applies for mapping policy as well. While with the great intention steps are being taken for indigenously developing the maps, it needs to be implemented in the same way with the same intention. And this is all about mapping policy, students. So you can understand, see, this is a potential question for technology as well as for governance. So please make a note of all these points, and this is a totally different topic from the rest of the topics that we see day to day, because we would be seeing some regular articles on governance and like social justice, but these kind of topics are very peculiar, and it has a for this peculiarity there is a high possibility that these topics could be asked in exams. So make a note of these points. The second article is on capital of India. Basically this is dealing about certain suggestions that has been raised about having four multiple capitals and parliament sessions in India. And this is related to your governance paper. So have a look at it. Let's see. So this is also different from the normal articles we see on a daily basis. So what is in the news is that the Chief Minister of West Bengal has actually suggested to have 4 capitals and parliament sessions to be held in each capital in rotation manner. So basically we have 3 sessions in an year, and this idea has been mooted by Chief Minister of West Bengal. But now let's try to understand, break this whole concept, the whole idea and suggestion given by the Chief Minister of West Bengal, and see the feasibility of it and how it is going to have an impact. First thing comes is logistics. See, if you are going to have 4 parliament sessions in 4 capitals, there are multiple factors like having accommodation for MPs, having parliament buildings at each capital. That would be that apart from Delhi, you'll be needing 3 more parliament buildings in 3 other capitals. So this is additional burden for the government. And also during parliament sessions, these accommodation would remain vacant for months. So because if the parliament session is happening in Delhi, other 3 regions are going to the buildings and the accommodations are going to remain vacant in other 3 regions. The same applies for when the session is happening in other places. And there has to be, the whole staffing has to be shifted from on a regular basis from one capital to the other capital. So these are the logistic issues. And also providing security to all MPs it's quite difficult, because the state police would have to share the burden, and it is going to already further pressurize the existing state police capacity. It is going to actually affect the capacity of state police. And also the cost to the government to have 3 capitals is significantly high, and it can't be afforded by a nation like India, because we should not be spending money on something like this, these concepts, when there is poverty and other important development aspects need to be focused. And already we know that a new parliament building is being built in, proposed to be built in Delhi. So when there is already huge burden on the finances of the government, these kind of ideas would further burden the finances of the union. And there is an example to this, because in Tamil Nadu in 1980s there was a proposal to shift the state capital to Tiruchirappalli. It was not even about having 2 capitals, rather it was just shifting the capital to Tiruchirappalli. So even at that time, it was regarded as it was dropped because of high cost. So even when shifting itself is going to incur more cost, consider about having multiple capitals, it is going to further burden the finances. So this is about what has happened in the news and its implications. But now let's try to go back. Let's try to understand the history around this development of capitals for India. So we know, if from history we know that Calcutta was the capital of this country when British were ruling it, and that was till 1911. In 1911, actually, King George V, he shifted the capital to Delhi. That's when the capital got shifted to Delhi. Before that, when Mughals were there, Delhi was the capital, and the region around Delhi remained the capital. But after British came in, they transferred it to Kolkata, and again it got changed to Delhi in 1911. And this was when this was done, the Parliament House was opened in 1927 in Delhi, and Viceroy's residence. So this Viceroy's residence actually is now the Rashtrapati Bhavan, where our president resides. And in addition to that, following these steps, in 1931 many other government buildings were inaugurated in that area to accommodate the functioning of the government. And one of the factors for selecting New Delhi as the capital was the proximity to summer capital, Shimla. So basically when British were there, they were having Shimla as a summer capital. So Delhi, the proximity between Delhi and Shimla made it more convenient for Britishers to shift the capital to New Delhi. While this is the brief history about the capitals of India, the development of capital of India, this idea of having multiple power seats of power is not restricted to capitals alone. the other organ of the government, that is the judiciary, itself has the same demand. Actually, there has been a demand for creation of Supreme Courts in South India. And unlike the four capitals proposal, this is slightly different because it's not, we can't just focus only on the finances, but there are other aspects to it. First thing is, judiciary is a fundamental thing that a common man should be able to reach out to in case of a grievance. And in that case, because Supreme Court, the proximity of Supreme Court for South Indians is slightly difficult, many people, the two people below poverty line, they won't be able to travel to New Delhi, they won't be able to afford to New Delhi, and they won't be able to engage lawyers to plead for them in Supreme Court. This is basically because of the fees that are being levied by the lawyers, as well as the amount of physical as well as financial strain that an individual would have to face in case he has to file a petition or fight a case in Supreme Court, that is in Delhi. And we know the Constitution also allows for creation of Supreme Court, multiple benches of Supreme Court with the consultation of Chief Justice of India. So there is a constitution provision also that can be used to make sure that justice is available and reachable for everyone in the country. In line with this, actually, Attorney General of India has suggested creation of courts of appeal, 4 benches of courts of appeal with 15 judges each to be created across the country, so that there are two things to it. One is it would make judiciary reachable for a common man, as well as it will reduce the burden on the SC, Supreme Court. So there is a merit to having multiple benches of Supreme Court or version of multiple benches of something else, something similar across the country. And when such a court of appeal is brought up, it will also enable the judges to go through each case thoroughly, because the burden is shared. It is not all the cases of the country gets piled up in front of the Supreme Court, and it becomes difficult for the judges to go through it, and the delivery time for justice also takes more time. The judgment also takes more time. So when such a system is put in place, each region, let's say north, east, and south and west, they can have their own courts of appeal where the common man can approach, and each judge can invest enough time to actually go through them. But setting up such courts would require constitutional amendment. So it's not like the way that where Constitution provides for setting up of multiple benches for Supreme Court, the principal bench for Supreme Court, but rather for courts of appeal, a constitutional amendment has to be made. And such an arrangement actually could also help the Supreme Court to deal with important issues that are related to the constitutional issues. So this way the Supreme Court's efficiency would be more, and it can be used in a better way. So in short, a viable solution needs to be worked out so that the caseload as well as the accessibility of justice gets balanced and gets done in a simple way. So students, this is all about this capital of India and for the day. So hope you liked the class. For more videos, subscribe to our channel, and also visit our platform for more articles on current affairs and static subjects. Till next class, happy learning. See you. Bye bye.